Hello everybody, this is TipTop Gaming here today with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down a ton of Theros Beyond Death spoilers, telling you what the card does, how it'll impact the meta, at least in my opinion, and a lot more. So why don't we jump right into this. Starting off, we have Thirst for Meaning. Thirst for Meaning is a 3-cost blue instant and says draw 3 cards. Then, discard 2 cards unless you discard an enchantment card. So, this, I feel like, seems like kind of a filler card used for draft, because obviously this is going to be very big in any blue enchantment deck, because this is a pay 3 to draw 3, discard 1. Okay, that's pretty big. However, I could see this leaking its way into Standard with something like Arc-like Phoenix, where it encourages you to cast lots of instants and sorceries, discard cards, so this kind of does all that, and draw cards to then get more instants and sorceries. So I feel like this could show up in draw second card per turn, Arc-like Phoenix, maybe those card decks will merge together, and this will be a bigger card in Limited. Next, we have Brine Giant, a 7-cost creature giant, and it says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each enchantment you control, and it's a 5/6. So, ideally, you want to, own like 3 enchantments, bringing this down to like 4. That's when you really start to get that good deal of mana per creature. Although, since you are in blue, you probably only need to have like 2 to make this a good deal. I think, again, this will be a very big limited card. I don't think this will see any standard play, although it is a giant, which does have some implication with, of course, that board wipe. Yeah. Then we have Woe Striders, which is a 3-cost creature horror, and it's a 3/2, and it says, when it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 white goat creature token. Alright, so here you are creating a 3/3 for 3, basically. So you're getting a 3/2, but then for 3. But normally that'd be a 3/3 for 3, but you're getting a 0/1 goat, which is probably better because that's a nice chump blocker. Or this could also be a 3-cost 3/2 scry 1, because you can sacrifice another creature to scry 1, and it has an escape cost. And when it escapes, and you have to exile 4 other cards. And when it escapes, it escapes with 2 counters on it. So this is generally pretty good. I think this card is really well designed. I don't think it's going to be broken, but I could be wrong. The whole sacrifice a creature scry 1, that is very powerful. Anything that's just sacrifice another creature as a cost. Okay, I take this back. This is kind of crazy. If this was tap sacrifice a creature, pay 1 mana sacrifice a creature, any of that, that would be better. But currently there's a red-black deck, that red-black-green deck that focuses all around sacrificing and getting bonuses from that. And for an unlimited sack engine, not only does this is 2 bodies, it is a sacrifice outlet, and it comes back from the graveyard. Okay. Ignoring the fact that that is the horrible state of Standard right now, this will totally see play in that. I like that when you pay 3, you're basically getting a 3/3 because you include the 0/1 up the toughness. When you pay 5, you are getting a 5/5. So it works well in the mana cost sense, but I think actually relooking at this might break Standard because now the black sacrifice deck has a sacrifice another creature : that should never be printed on a Standard card, especially in a meta so filled with death triggers. Next, we have Erebos Blackhearted, which is a 4-cost legendary enchantment creature god 5/6, indestructible. Oh god, I'm scared. As long as your devotion to black is less than 5, it isn't a creature. So the multicolored ones, like Clothis, they require 7 because they are 2 different colors, versus mono is only black, which is pretty easy to get to with this, plus a Cavalier, plus 1 other black permanent, gets you straight there already. But, that's 2 mythics and some other black card. Whenever another creature you control dies, you may pay 2 life if you do draw a card. Okay, so when I first read that ability, I was like, okay, so that's worse Midnight Reaper, which is a card that says whenever a creature dies, you lose a life and draw a card. However, this gives you the option. I mean, you are paying more life per card, which is bad, but you do get the option. So say you're getting low on life, your opponent can't kill you by killing your creatures, which I think is very important. However, he also has another ability. Pay 2, sacrifice another creature, target creature gets -2/-1 until end of turn. Again, I see maybe this being a 1 or 2 of in the black-red sacrifice deck. This is, first off, a death trigger that if you don't want to activate it, you don't have to. And it's a way to sacrifice creatures, and it's kill spells. This card is also insane and probably should not have been printed. Next, we have Storm Herald. 3 cost creature, human, shaman, 3/2, haste. Whenever it enters the battlefield. So, first off, that's a 3/2 for 3 with haste. So that's already pretty good. And whenever it enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to creatures you control. Exile those auras at the beginning of your next end step. If those auras would leave the battlefield, exile them instead of putting them anywhere else. I hate this card. Now, in Standard, or at least in Future Standard, there has not been any crazy auras. However, we are in Theros. There is probably going to be a crazy red aura spoiled. I'm calling it now, but like the highest cost is 5 right now, so it's not super used for cheating out things. However, imagine someone mills you using Persistent Petitioners and they get 12 auras, and all of them give +1/+1. This card, for 3, gives the creature +12/+12. Or they tried to balance it by if they would leave the battlefield anytime, just exile them, which I think is very brilliant. But I think that this could be easily abused with like some sort of self-mill deck, and as you know, every color is getting milled now, so like, I don't know. Next, we have Underworld Breach. Hey, you're going to notice a theme of red doing things it's not supposed to do. Pick 2 cost, enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost +3 and exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. So, red can now cast any type of card. Creatures, enchantments, instant sorceries, those are more normal for red, but planeswalkers from their graveyard. And what do they have to do? They have exile cards from their graveyard, which they generally don't care about unless they're instant and sorceries. You do have to sacrifice this, so this might as well have been a sorcery, not an enchantment. However, this does help your enchantment count now, too. I think this card is utterly ridiculous. When colors break out of their lane, that's when you run into problems. And so this is a massive color break. Red should not be able to cast planeswalkers or enchantments or anything from its graveyard besides instants and sorceries. And even that's a really annoying mechanic. I get that this is a 2 cost and you have to be able to pay for the creature's mana cost +2 plus exile cards from your graveyard. However, this is just something red's not supposed to do. And so maybe I would have run a red-black deck, which, you know, I might. But now I can just leave out black, because now I can use this red card instead, and now my deck is 20 million times more consistent, because I don't have to deal with tap lands. Next, we have Wrath of Storm. These, of course, are translations, so expect this might not be exactly right in terms of especially the name. Then it's a 4-cost sorcery, and it says Wrath of Storm deals 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. You know what red needed? A mono board wipe for 4. I mean, I think that this is fine, because red isn't going to want to do this, because red right now is just full of 1/1s. But I could totally see this being played instead of Deafening Clarion. I know it's 1 more mana, but this also hits planeswalkers. So if Jeskai Fires is not banned before this is released, this is going to replace Deafening Clarion in those decks. Oop. Ox of Agonists is a 5-cost creature Ox, and it says when Ox of... Oh, by the way, this is a mythic. 4/2. When it enters the battlefield, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. I already don't like this. Escape 2. Exile 8 other cards from your graveyard. Ox of Agonists escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is a 5-cost 4/2. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to draw 3 cards. Because we all know, in red, that this is going... First of all, I don't think this card is very good. I'm going to start with that. Discarding your whole hand isn't great. However, if you're in a red Rushy deck and you have this is a 1 or 2 of in your deck, by the time you're playing this, your hand is empty, so you're discarding nothing. And even if you are discarding cards, say this is the first card you play for some reason, you are discarding 7 cards, which is then 7 out of the 8 or 6 out of the 8 cards you need to recast the spell. And so what I hate about this card is that if you can fill your graveyard by discarding, because red does that a lot, you can just keep drawing 3. Because this thing can go to the graveyard, then you pay 2 to then draw 3 cards in red. What? That's not red. I mean, this is red. Okay, this one is not as big of a color pipe break. It's just really obnoxious. Alright, let's move on to the next card. I have a really big problem with this card. Furrows Bronze Blooded, which is a 5-cost legendary enchantment creature god. 7/6, indestructible. Whew. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, it isn't a creature. Okay, that's pretty normal ability. Other creatures you control have haste. There's not very much of this in mono red currently. I mean, there is a couple things. Red-green has a 3-cost enchantment which can give everything haste or +1/+1 counters or whatever, but Mono red doesn't have a ton of every single thing has haste. I mean, we got the satire thing yesterday, which gives all satires haste. But pay 2, you may put a red creature card or an artifact creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Now, it doesn't say it gives it haste, but guess what? It gives it haste because of that first ability. However, what that does mean is that they can exile the enchantment, or this thing, because remember, it has indestructible. So they either have to exile it, just gain control of it, because we all know Agent of Treachery is coming back, because all of these indestructible gods that ruin the game are coming back, and so, well, hey, I can't destroy it, and I don't want to run white, I'll just steal it. Either way, this allows you to pay 3 red mana and for just 1 turn swing with the most powerful creature. Now, I've compiled a list for you. Right here. Sorry, that was one thing off. So these are the most, in standard, the most expensive red creatures, or mixed red. Okay, so I looked at this and I'm like, okay, it's a 5 cost. You have 6 cost in the lowest cost, like, of spells. However, think about it like this. Rakdos, the showstopper, can be played for 3. Now, if you have any way of recurring bounce, or even just unsummon in your hand, you can then unsummon him back to your hand, and then pay 3 again to then board wipe again. So, I think the 3 is a little much, but you have to remember, this does not just go into this does not just go into standard, it also goes into historic, modern, legacy, vintage, commander, brawl, all of that. And so what is it in historic? Because I'm mostly an MTG Arena player. Well, Impervious Great Worm? Ooh, that's pretty fun. What about Enray's Forerunners? You know, the one that you really only care about the enter the battlefield ability? Or what about Agent of Treachery? Again, one that you care about the enter the battlefield ability, and then you want him in the graveyard. Oh, let's not forget about all the new rares that they added that were super high cost, because they're like, well, you can't get these out early, so they're bad. Or what about Mirror March, that allows it to create copies upon copies and copies of really expensive creatures that all have enter the battlefield abilities, like Enray's Forerunners. That's also in red. This card is atrocious, and it should not have been printed. It is a risk, it's a liability. Why would they ever print this? Kunoros, Hound of Aetherios, is a 3-cost black and white legendary creature. Hound, Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink, 3/3. Wow, that's aggressively priced. I mean, a 3-cost, 3/3 Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. So it can attack and block. You have to block with 2 creatures, and you're going to gain life. Fine. Creatures in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Okay, this might actually be, used. Players can't cast spells from graveyards. So if you notice, there's a lot of graveyard hate, and part of that is interaction with the escape mechanic. This card disables escape. It also disables Stupid Reanimator, which is totally going to see a resurgence, because guess what? Like I said, there's a bunch of indestructible creatures. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to steal them. Either way, on to the next card. That one's crazy. Going to see play. Yep, not this. Okay. I lied, sorry. I messed that up. These are still in standard, obviously. These are just the not red ones. Here is the historic cards that cost the most expensive historic cards in the game. Zakama, Gishoff, Angrath's Marauder. You only need Angrath's Marauder out for 1 turn to be really devastating. What about Daragaz Reincarnated? If you can find a way to kill it, then it gets exiled, you get to put egg counters on it, and then it returns to the battlefield. What about Drakuseth, which basically is a little mini board wipe, or, any of these crazy cards. And if we take away the red from it, we get Galta, which isn't that big of a deal. People can cast that really early anyways. Molder Hulk, and, all these crazy cards that just should not be able to be cast for 3 mana, even if it is for just 1 turn. Alright, then we have Nylea Sharpeyed. It's a 4-cost legendary enchantment creature god. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, it isn't a creature. Creatures you cast cost 1 less to cast, so that's pretty good. You pay that for 4, and everything costs 1. That's similar to, what was that? Werewolf. Either way, pay 2 and a green, and reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it in your hand. Otherwise, you may put it in your graveyard, which, of course, has some awesome interaction with Escape, and Reanimator decks, and I know Green generally isn't in Reanimator, but this card isn't as good as the red one. I can say that. Then we have Field of Rune is being reprinted, which basically allows you to kill a non-basic land and replace it with a basic land. This would have been wonderful for the Field of the Dead days, but I mean, is there any real, like, big threat of a land? I mean, in Brawl, this is going to see play. I can tell you that. I mean, yeah, that's all I can say there. There's not too many lands that are that menacing nowadays. No flip lands, no any of that. So this sees a little bit less use unless something like Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is reprinted. Then we have the other 5 temples, which makes a lot of sense for Theros. And remember, since these are coming in collector boosters, unlike M20, these will be available in like a full art style or like extended art style, which I think is going to be, they are going to be worth a pretty penny. Then we have NYX Lotus, which is a crazy card, 4-cost legendary artifact. NYX Lotus enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, choose a color, add an amount of mana equal to that your devotion to that color. So let's say you have a bunch of red spells. You have a bunch of red 1/1s. You have 5 red 1/1s, and they all cost 1 red. You can pay this tap it and get 5 red mana. So that is crazy. This is Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. This was a land. This is obviously less crazy than that. So I think this pretty much confirms that Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is not being reprinted. But either way, this card is crazy, and we'll probably see play, especially in some janky stuff. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for this video. I know it's been a longer one. There's just been a ton of spoilers today. I think I got all of them. I mean, like, there shouldn't be any more posted. Every single person who was said that they were posting a spoiler has posted it. So that's going to do it for this video. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.